now listening to Tuff Tiger Talk Flash Report.
All right, shout out to the Tuff Tiger Talk family, Big Q, representing Tuff Tiger Talk, man. For all things LSU sports, we up in this thing, recapping and going off several news stories and topics to talk about dealing with our LSU Tigers. It's been a week of flux. A lot of stuff is happening in the Tiger Nation. Number one, we started off with the fact that LSU fired Brian Kelly after disastrous display at Death Valley against the Texas A&M Aggies that ultimately put him in the street. Change of staff has happened. Of course, we know Coach Frank Wilson has taken over this team. And outside of that, man, we know that he is the new coach. And Joe Sloan is out. We've known that he was fired Monday, and his role as the co-offensive coordinator and play caller was in termination. And Frank, that's one of the changes that they wanted to make originally, was fire him, and Brian Kelly tried to stand up for the guy, and ultimately it happened. So Frank will still work with the running backs as the interim head coach. Cardale Hankton will work closely with the running backs moving forward. And he was a running backs coach at Charlotte in 2021. Tight ends coach and running game coordinator Alex Hankins will call the plays. He was offensive coordinator at Florida State back in 22 and 23 under Mike Norvell, who called the plays out there. Hankton, who will remain in his role as co-offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach, and Tim Ratty will work with the quarterbacks. Brad Davis remains the offensive line coach. So some flux that's happening in terms of the team switching up its personnel coming into they got a little time for this to happen. Of course, the firing happened. They're on a bye week coming up, and they have an extra 2 weeks before they face off against the Crimson Tide in an attempt to try to. We know a national championship run is out of play, but at least Tigers can have some respect and finish strong the remaining regular season record. So let's kind of delve into some of this stuff, man. We'll start with the article currently on screen. Why did LSU fire Brian Kelly? It's kind of a simple question, because the team was underperforming. A lot of people now are taking shots at Brian Kelly, talking about his fake accent, how he started it off, his how he treated Brendan Fehoko, the lineman for LSU from the past, was talking about how he kept out of a lot of former LSU Tigers from coming in, and Brian Kelly kind of kept those guys out and had that culture. A lot of people kind of held their tongue about Brian Kelly, but now they kind of letting it go now that he's gone. He knows that's what happened. So it was one of those things where you kind of walked into it. But not to make a long story short, but to kind of do a brief recap. When Coach Kelly arrived at LSU 4 years ago, we had high hopes. This is coming from the AD here. He would lead us to multiple SEC and national championships during his time in Baton Rouge. And this was Scott Woodard said. Ultimately, the success at that level that LSU demands simply did not materialize. And I made the decision to make a change after last night's game. We wish Coach Kelly and his family the very best in their future endeavors. We will continue to negotiate a separation and work toward a path that is better for both parties, right? Key word there is both parties, right? So anyway, this is what the both parties, he had a $54 million buyout, but of course, this is how it happened. LSU football rumors Coach Kelly buyout reduced by more than $30 million with a morals code. What do you mean? It reports the LSU cut Brian Kelly's buyout to about $20 million using the morals code, clearing room for a high-profile coaching search. All right, LSU football team breakup with Kelly has spawned a wave of unflattering aftershocks. In the aftermath of the 49-25 loss to Texas A&M and his dismissal, local radio personality alleged that Kelly spent significant time on the golf course during his tenure, fueling frustration and focus about the culture. That's Pace. That's Pate. That's Pate. Pate did that. He really handled it. He talked really good about it as well. He mentioned this as well. So also T-Bob actually mentioned it as well, as he said too, but I heard Pate mention it too. From my sources with very close ties to LSU Athletic Department and LSU Board of Supervisors, Brian Kelly and LSU settled his buyout for around $20 million or $30 million less than what actually owed, utilizing the morals code. This is reported by Kyrie Johnson on X. The figure, if accurate, undercuts earlier expectation that Kelly's departure will require a buyout north of $50 million. A reduced settlement would be a seismic financial pivot for LSU, changing the calculus on this coming season. It eases pressure on the department's balance sheet while the school stabilizes under interim coach Frank Wilson and conducts a national search. It also reflects off-field considerations can shape outcomes when performance optics and contract language collide. Meanwhile, attention inevitably turns to potential successors and what profile fits Baton Rouge right now. Modern, relentless recruiting chops and clearly a defined offensive identity, but timing matters. Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin keeps resurfacing in these talks, yet he's considered a tricky pursuit. As Athletic noted, Kiffin's family is settled in Oxford. Ole Miss is 7-1 with real playoff ambitions, and he expected to be a top target for Florida. Any LSU football team overture would need to clear a sizable buyout and the logistics of a postseason run, all while competing with other suitors. In short, LSU appears to have contained its short-term financial hit while widening its strategic runway. The next decision will lead the Tigers will define whether their reset becomes a lunch. So we've heard, and I've covered on the previous reports, a number of coaches that LSU intends to look at. A number of coaches, the Tulane coaches is thrown into the mix. We've talked about him. Former Penn State coaches in the mix. There are several men, and there'll be more, because they're not going to make the hire right now. They'll wait till after the end of the season. And even if you're a coach somewhere else, you're fair play. What Woodard does, because LSU has deep pockets, and they can be able to kind of draw and pull away certain coaches. And who they're looking at, they want a coach that can be able to win right away. That's the bottom line. There's nobody coming in here saying it'll take 3 to 4 years to build. We're not going for that. Whoever it is got to understand the pressure and win right away. Now you narrow your list to whoever that is as what you will want them to be. It'll be interesting. But still, with the coaching thing, is not to the end of the year. We still got the regular season remaining in the potential bowl game. But also there was thought processes about commitments, because they're still, with Kelly gone, a lot of his recruits are still out there and you don't want them to flip. How about this one? Number 1 prospect in America, 5-star LSU football commit, envisions himself a Tiger. The Tigers continue pushing to keep the 2026 recruiting class intact. Received good news yesterday, or today rather. So, the 5-star prospect from University Lab, Lamar Brown, a hot commodity after blossoming to the number 1 recruit in this 2026 cycle coming up. The top-ranked athlete in America made the decision to remain and pledge to LSU in July after deciding he wanted to suit up where he was born and raised. It feels good to play for my state and my city. He mentioned that. He also thanked Coach Kelly. And Frank Wilson has been on this from day one. So a lot of the recruits still, you got some of these guys here holding it down, which ultimately brings a very interesting dilemma. Like, some of these guys commit to LSU, but whoever the coach is coming in, they're going to want to think about keeping some of these coaches on their new staff. I know they'll reserve the right to pick who they want to, but just remember, there's an attachment to these high-ranking recruits coming, staying attached to your team because they were recruited by these coaches. So when the upcoming new coach comes in, he has to hold that in his mind to take whatever resources that are left from a recruit standpoint and be able to keep them to the team. So it's going to be interesting coming up next year, but we're still dealing with 2025. It feels like it's the off season, but it really isn't. Not. We're in the bye, getting ready for Alabama in another week or so. So it's going to be interesting no matter how you slice it with LSU football. So anyway, with that being said, fam, that'll do it for this episode of Tuff Tiger Talk. Y'all do me a favor and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the share button. A lot of flux here in LSU land. Kelly's gone. Coach Frank is on the horizon. We also have his interview up here as well for y'all to be able to check out his first interview, just addressing the thought processes with the players and what everything is going through, the flux and everything going on with Kelly being fired. And regardless or not, the team still has 4 games remaining in the regular season. They have to step up and play. So let's see if the LSU finish strong and kind of keep recruiting and build this thing moving forward, and we'll see. Well, anyway, with that being said, I'm done. I'm going to holler at y'all on the next one. Much love. Go Tigers.